Welcome to WKIT-DG Radio on the Pyramid One World Radio Network. We are your source for the latest news, music, and entertainment from around the world. Our programming is designed to keep you informed and entertained with a variety of content that will keep you engaged. Tune in to hear interviews with your favorite artists, exclusive live performances, and more. So sit back and relax as WKIT-DG Radio brings you the best in global radio entertainment.
Pyramid One World Radio is excited to present Venus Rising, a concise history of the second planet, a captivating exploration into the mysteries and wonders of our neighboring planet. Join us as we delve into the fascinating story behind Venus and uncover the latest developments. Venus, often referred to as Earth's sister planet, has long captivated scientists and space enthusiasts alike. Its dense atmosphere, scorching temperatures, and intriguing geological features have sparked countless questions about its origins and potential for life. In Venus Rising, a concise history of the second planet, we will take you on a journey through time, exploring the historical discoveries and scientific breakthroughs that have shaped understanding of Venus. From early observations by ancient civilizations to modern-day space missions, we will uncover how our knowledge of this mysterious planet has evolved over centuries. But that's not all. We will also delve into what is currently happening on Venus. Recent advancements in technology have allowed us to gather new insights into its atmospheric conditions, surface features, and potential for habitability. We will explore the latest research findings and discuss how they are reshaping our perception of Venus as a dynamic world worthy of further exploration. Whether you're an avid space enthusiast or simply curious about what lies beyond our own planet, Venus Rising, a concise history of the second planet promises to be an engaging and enlightening experience. Join us as we unravel the secrets of Venus and embark on a thrilling journey through its past, present, and future. If you have not ordered a copy of an information full book by our guest author tonight, Dr. Raymond A. Keller II, you must order a copy tonight. Put your hands together and WELCOME, our host Robert Potter, and his honored guest, Dr. Raymond A. Keller, to Pyramid One World Radio.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Hey, Robert.
Yes, sir.
We heard everything you were doing, and we're sitting over here going, "What you doing? You ordering the pizza?"
No, the place that let me use the thing, I was trying to be close to the Wi-Fi. Unfortunately, they, folks, we're a little late. This is my fault. My internet was down. I had to travel to a location. Took me some minutes to get here, and by the time I got here, I was parked in a spot that was. Anyway, we're here now. God bless you all. Thank you so much for your patience. It's an honor to be here again with Bob Charles on Pyramid One and my dear friend Raymond Keller.
You know, you gentlemen, I tell you, I'm having a ball already. I mean, it's like, whoa. But what are you gonna do? It's just one of those things. The internet is weird. Strange stuff. Anyway, The big stuff that's going on. There's a whole bunch of people. In fact, I got them on my screen right now, and that are coming in. And I want to tell everybody, listen, the phone lines are open, so you can call by dialing what's all over the everything, Facebook and Skype and I mean, you name it, it was there. The number is 609-663-0153. You can call in from anywhere. I don't care where you are. Now, on the other hand, for those who want to do worldwide stuff, all you have to do is dial this number, 863-222-4199, and you can text me from anywhere in the world. So I don't want any excuses like, oh, I couldn't get in touch with you. Well, you know what? You can get in touch with me anywhere. Now, one more thing. If you want to, get onto Google and look up Pyramid One Network or Pyramid One Radio on the search. Search down. Go to Pyramid One Network /Wix, WIX. Click on that. If you click on that, it comes out to our website, and on the website is a chat room. You can chat room with me. I'm looking at it right now. So there is no reason for anybody not to ask a question anywhere in the world. So, gentlemen, it's all yours. Take it away.
Okay, folks, I'm honored to be on here today with my dear friend Raymond Keller. I'm going to give you a little bit of a back history to our association. Many of you know me on my website, thepromiserevealed.net, and my experiences with Dr. Fred Bell as a face-to-face contactee for 49 years, starting from the age of 17. I was meeting some Pleiadians. Now, through the years, I had a fascination with Venus, and I learned a lot from a brother named Gabriel Green, a famous contactee from the 50s, who was very prominent in Giant Rock. So, as you all know, we're not alone, never have been alone, and never will be alone. Mankind is awakening now to a wonderful amount of knowledge as the end of the, let's call it, the intruders or the interlopers who've been influencing mankind. Mankind's always been free to choose the light and to step into the awareness of his immortality. Everyone is immortal. You are a soul, and within you, you have, some people call it the Christ consciousness. You have these different avatars, Krishna, Buddha. Many great teachers have exonerated this spiritual truth. So as I moved along in my life, I was having lots of contacts where Venusians would present themselves to me. My telepathic abilities and I would know that there were Venusians there. They did a couple dramatic presentations to me in person. This is on my website in the past. I want to bring it quickly to Dr. Raymond Keller here. But I had met Valiant Thor in 2003. I met his wife, Jill, in 2007. And I met Don Thor, the other gentleman in the picture, the famous picture at Howard Menger's place in 1983 or 84. He appeared with three beautiful Venusian women, another driver, and a mint condition baby blue Chevy, and it was a very impressionable experience. So I've had these experiences, and a good friend of mine and Raymond's, a guy named Frank Chile, who was very much instrumental and very excited, very positive, and really has been, seeking information about, as he calls them, the brothers and sisters, our neighbors from the stars. And it's not so difficult to believe when you know that the universe is teeming with life. So he introduced me to Raymond Keller in 2017. I think it was 2017, and I started having conversations. And Raymond, like Fred Bell, has had a tremendous amount of knowledge, and due to the political situation in terms of the human gnosis and liberation of the planet, Raymond's been able to share with me a tremendous amount of knowledge about the planet Venus, about spiritual concepts, about time travel, about metaphysical understandings, things like the overself, the soul, a form of ascension called translation,
many, many things, including the history of Venus. And finally, I had been complaining a little bit about, wanting to have an open contact. And Raymond finally arranged this for me. I'm going to go back a little bit with Raymond's experience. His life has had so much, he's had a very full life. He's been very involved as a writer in this lifetime. Newspaper, Top Gun School, Army, Navy, written books, and he is an incredible researcher. And the Venusians call him the the historian of Venus. And how this came about was in Raymond's experience. He had many beautiful metaphysical experiences. One was on Mount Shasta in 1987. He took, I think, 4 or 5 women up to a place on Mount Shasta near where I live, went up on the mountain, and a guy named Reverend Parker, who was a confidant of Annalise Guerin, said, if you go up to this mountain, there's a portal and you're going to meet a master. And the master they did meet. She was in a silver spacesuit. She was sitting there, and they talked for 2 to 3 hours. And at some point, Raymond said, what are those beings behind you? They look like insects. And she said, well, Raymond, I'm actually not here. We are preparing for human migration to this planet called Belaton in Sirius B. And they took a picture, and she didn't show up in the picture, but we fast forward now to Wuxi, China, in December 12th. And this is a very incredible story. This is the beginning of open contact. On my website, you're going to see images of 2 Venusian women who appeared to Raymond. So we're beginning to realize they're presenting themselves to the public now. And is their rightful honor, the Venusians being our closest sister planet, guardian of Earth for millions of years, literally, they will be the first ones to have contact openly. The Pleiadians will be there. There's many of them here now, but we're getting ready. As we grow into our spiritual presence, we'll be able to interact with these brothers and sisters, and we can not envy them, not worship them, not become jealous of their technology, but to learn from their spiritual awareness and the presence that they have. Raymond, in 2012, was teaching English, and he went to a bar in China, in Wuxi, China. And in walked a famous Brazilian, quote, researcher that he had met through Gabriel Green, the same guy that taught me a lot in Yucca Valley. And she said, Raymond, would you like to go to an ascension party? And he said, does that mean I'm going to Venus? And she said, step on down, cause you're going to Venus. The next day, she took him on the roof, and she activated a little sphere. This device is called a Nimbus. It grew up into a size, it was a 2-seater, and they headed to Tibet. Now, when these Nimbuses are at rest, they open up like a lotus flower. What do you see in all the Buddhist traditions in Tibet? The Buddhas are floating in the sky in a lotus flower. This is the technology of the Venusians, and this is the wonderful technology that allows us to interact. So Raymond gets there, and he comes into this valley, and there's a monastery in the middle of a lake, the Namso Lake. And over the hill in the mountain, he sees Valiant Thor's Victor 1 starship, and a bunch of these orbs, these small little orbs that Raymond's riding in, land on the shore. They take a trip to Venus, and they're going to witness an ascension party of the previous Queen of Venus. It's a matriarchal society. And so Raymond gets up there, and at the end of this beautiful ceremony, the ascended master El Morya, the one we know as Lord Dismas, or the accidental apostle who died on the cross with Christ, has been placed as a regent of Venus. And he announced the new queen was in this giant stadium, 100,000 people. Raymond Keller, right, sitting right next to him, is this woman named Lady Orda. She has been the Queen of Venus. As the queen, she asked him if he would like to stay, and he did. The very next day, Raymond went to the Ascended Master El Morya. I said, what was it like? He said, wonderment and awe. And he was radiating light. I said, what did you ask him? What did you say? He said, can I look at the Akashic records? And he said, why not? The queen said, when he told her, she said, well, the Time Lords don't normally let people going back to Earth look at the Akashic records. But Lord Deisman said, okay, he was shown how to do it. And this is where much of this information in Raymond's 8 books about Venus come from. Accessing the Akashic records, along with his pure heart, his wonderful intellect, and his meticulous notes in these books, everything is there. So, ladies and gentlemen, Raymond Keller, let the questions begin.
Well, thank you so much. It's a privilege and an honor to be on the Pyramid One program and to be here with you, Rob, and with you, Mr. Charles, to share this important information about our sister planet. And in my books, I look at Venus through many facets and conditions of life there. From perspectives of conspiracies, history, theosophy, ufology, even pop culture and current events, space research. Everything is thoroughly documented, and be happy to answer any and all questions to the best of my ability.
Yeah, Rob.
Do you have any?
Rob.
Do you have any questions, Bob?
Me? Are you kidding? You don't, Dr. Raymond don't have enough time for me.
Okay.
I mean, all right, wait a minute. I got one question. Doctor, he said that you were in or went to Venus. What is my question is this. The question that the planet itself is a very hot planet. See, and everybody and Rob Patter's going, no, it ain't. Well, okay.
Well,
So
it is on average hotter than the Earth.
Yeah.
But the heat that's being measured from Venus is electrical heat in the ionosphere. And I look at the 4 countries that have sent probes to Venus: Russia, the United States, Japan with the Akatsuki probe, and the European Union with the Venus Express. There's a lot of contradictory information in all these probes, because Venus is a world approximately the same size of the Earth with varied conditions throughout. And the fact of the matter is that a long time ago, millions of years ago, there was a meteoric bombardment of the planet, which greatly slowed its rotation and destroyed most of the life on the surface. So they had to move underground. And these are the vast caverns created through played-out lava tubes, where the civilizations have been built up and developed, that even contactees like Daniel Fry and George Van Tassel have told us about, as well as Commander Valiant Thor himself to Dr. Frankie Strange's back in the late 1950s or early 1960.
I would like to.
Now, wait a minute, hold it. There was a question that came through that was connected to the first one I just asked. This is pretty fun. Can I plant a garden there?
Yes. In fact, the way that food is grown on Venus is through.
Doctor, let me stop you for a minute. What they're thinking about is, when they're saying that, is if you can plant a garden, then a human being could breathe.
Oh yes. The atmosphere is tiered in various layers, with the denser gases toward the closer to the surface. So it is breathable. And my fourth book, which I call The Vast Venus Conspiracy, I delve into all of these things in great detail and expose NASA, NASA, the acronym, which I call Never a Straight Answer.
Yeah, you're so right.
Hey, I have something here to support that. I was just pulling it up. This is the famous John Lear. The father started the Lear aircraft. He was very much involved in the government's program, and I'm going to let him speak here. And I'm hoping you guys can hear this.
John is
And
John,
this,
John has been on this show before.
oh, okay. So I just was going to play this here. So I'm going to go like this, and I'm going to. Oh, well, I can't seem to get to the position to play it. So, but basically, what he says is he talks about the lies of NASA. He says, you know, Clementine, all these uh, things have been sent to Venus, and none of them um, are, you know, um, they're not telling the truth. That Raymond makes clear in Rockets to Venus that it's actually um, very, very habitable there, and that the readings they got was the ionosphere. 1,000 degrees, they claimed. And John Lear says nobody asked why a parachute could land on Venus. He said that everything NASA was telling is a lie, and he talks about the grades. I can't seem to pull this up right now, but um, yeah. So there's lies. It's breathable. Raymond's been there.
It's the Lear family goes back in aviation research all the way back to the mid 1950s. This is William Lear, and he was very deep into anti-gravity research, and it's all the information about American corporations and scientists and the government working together to create anti-gravity is in my seventh book, Flying Saucers from Venus They Come.
Okay, here's I got it up now.
And we found out that so far there are 18 different alien species that we know about monitoring Earth. Some are good, some are hostile, most are indifferent. We found out that we are the experiment or product, if you will, of an alien race who we never met and really don't know who they are. All we know is that the Greys are cybernetic organisms, glorified robots, if you will, who work here at the behest of their employers, monitoring us through abductions. We were never able to find out what the experiment is all about, except that we have been externally corrected about 65 times, and they, the aliens, refer to us as containers. There has been speculation that the souls our bodies contains is the reason for the experiment, but nothing has been proven or determined. Since 1938, we have lost over 200 aircraft to UFO hostilities and thousands of soldiers in all kinds of different kinds of action with aliens. Abductions occur on a daily basis throughout the United States to at least 10% of the population. And when we first became aware of this, we protested to the little gray being that we held in the captivity at the YY-2 facility in Los Alamos. But a deal was struck that in exchange for advanced technology from the aliens, we would allow them to abduct a very small number of persons, and we would be periodically given a list of those persons abducted. We got something less than the technology we bargained for and found that the abductions exceeded by a millionfold what we had naively agreed to. In 1954, President Eisenhower met with a representative of another alien species at Muroc Test Center, which is now called Edwards Air Force Base. This alien suggested that they could help us get rid of the Greys, but Eisenhower turned down their offer because they offered no technology. It was determined at meetings between the U.S. and Russians that the situation was serious enough that a Cold War should be manufactured as a ruse to divert attention of the public away from UFOs and towards some other scary threat, the H-bomb. It was also decided to keep the ruse secret from any elected or appointed official within both the U.S. and Russian government, as long as it took so long to vet these officials, and the ruse was easier to manage if the top people didn't know about it. In the late 1950s, NASA was formed to compartmentalize, containerize, and sanitize information from all space platforms and vehicles. We sold NASA to the public, claiming that all information belonged to them. Actually, they got very little, and even that was highly sanitized. Our first efforts were to keep the public from learning about Venus, and that it's a similar planet to Earth, and that its population is very similar to us, but more technologically advanced. We had learned a lot from them. Starting with the Russian Venera 1 and U.S. Mariner 2, we made Venus look like a lead-melting volcanic surface spewing sulfuric acid into a pressurized atmosphere 90 times that of Earth. And it was often the case we overdid it and wondered why no one ever asked how a parachute survived descent into 800-degree air. We set up operations in Pine Gap, Australia to preclude any prying eyes trying to figure out what we were up to. We regularly eliminated, through extreme prejudice, anybody who was part of the operation and made the least little tiny threat about disclosure or satisfaction with the operation. Any space mission that included Mercury, Gemini, Apollo, Mariner, Voyager, Clementine, and all the rest, all data initially came transmitted to Pine Gap, and then it was relayed to JPL or wherever after the sanitizing. We had a little trouble with amateur radio operators, but we figured out when they figured out how they could intercept these signals, but we managed to deal with that. When the Russian threat began to fade, we introduced Vietnam, which kept the public occupied.
Okay, so I just wanted to bring that up. Some of that information is a little out of date. The abductions are not taking place anymore. There's been a lot of actions, but clearly, from in the know, Venus is habitable.
Oh, yes, I wanted to say something about disclosure and contacts. On the 25th of June of 2021, the congressional hearings about the Navy pilots and so forth came out, and a national survey was conducted to get people's opinions about UFOs. And what they discovered was that 50% of Americans had seen unidentified flying objects, or 50 million, I should say, 50 million people had seen them, and that an estimated 15 million claimed to have had some kind of contact with an extraterrestrial or ultra-dimensional intelligence. And this is telling me that we don't have to wait for a full-blown disclosure, because we are the disclosure. It's happening even as we speak.
I think Rob went somewhere.
Oh yeah, he's blinked out on my screen too.
Yeah, mine too. Well, I still have his avatar. Potter, are you there? According to this, it's still there. No. If he wasn't there, that little thing that's on the bottom that you would disappear. So there's a signal coming from somewhere. Maybe he didn't put the audio on. If we can hear you.
I see a microphone with a line through it on his avatar.
That means he's got a mute on his end.
Oh.
I don't know if I touch it, anything would happen because it's his mute. Not mine.
Oh.
Anyway, while we're waiting for him to get back somehow. Maybe he's back. Robert, we don't see your mute anymore. Anyway, let's get back to what we were talking about. When you talk about Venus, okay, were you there yourself?
Oh yes, I was. Mm-hmm.
Okay. The thing that I'm getting a couple of questions, and the first thing that people are asking are, well, what's it like? Can you imagine? Come on, when you and I were kids, all right, you got to be as old as I am. When we were kids, it was like, oh, well, there he is. See, I told you he's back, almost. It's like when you were kids, and it was like, oh wow, we're gonna go to the planets and this and that and the other thing and that. And now it's that we're older, and we have the reality is washing into us. The logic is coming in there somewhere. When you say, hey, how was it in Venus? You kind of sort of shake your head and scratch your head and go, huh?
Well, it is rather disorienting because the gravity is only 81% that of the Earth, so it's much lighter. And also the sun comes up in the east. I mean the sun comes up in the west, the opposite of here on Earth. So it's a little bit disorienting, and the day is actually longer than the year because the rotation is so slow.
So in other words, a day is not 24 hours; it's like 72 hours.
It's like 243 days.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well,
So
you have like 121 days of light, and then alternating with another 120 something of darkness.
so they're going to sell a lot of batteries for flashlights and
Well, there,
a lot of dark glasses.
yes, there's a lot of insect life there as well, and but the atmosphere remains fluorescent, and the insects are fluorescent, and for the there's a lot more lightning, for example, in the atmosphere, so that the atmosphere is always charged and lit, even on the dark side. They just came back with photos of Venus when it was on the dark side from the Parker probe. It shot around Venus to get a gravitational assist on its way to the sun. The Parker probe is solar probe, and when it went around Venus and supposedly supposed to be dark, it was all lit up with fluctuating lights everywhere.
That was the lightning.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the charge of the atmosphere.
And
I
then
just
they found the phosphenes in the Venusian atmosphere that can only be coming from life, and that was discussed in 2015 in my first book, Venus Rising, as being swarms of insects.
Oh, okay. So if there's people living there, right?
Yes.
Okay. A lot of insects. Well, what do you, I mean, well, seriously, I mean, it's like, the more and more I think about this, somebody said it to me one time, and it was right after Robert came with the program. The guy said to me, he says, well, it's hollow. And I said, well, so the more and more you think about it, some of those planets out there are in an essentially hollow. The outside of them, you can see the poor things like the moon. It's beat
Mm-hmm.
hell. It's got holes all over the place. It's been hit with every meteor you could possibly think of. And if you lived on the surface of a place like this, I mean, you better have a really good insurance company. On the other side of that, there is holes that you can actually drive into something. And there are planets right now that actually show more or less remnants of somebody actually building an opening to somewhere.
Oh yes, like our own moon, for example.
Right.
And when our scientists beginning in the late 1940s in New Jersey, when they began bouncing radar beams off the moon, they noticed a pinging effect like a bell, that the moon is hollow, and there are photos from NASA that they didn't catch, and you could see that the craters appear to be entrances to underground cities where there's platforms and so forth. And on Venus, it's basically the same size as the Earth in diameter, plus or minus 250 miles, but it only has about 75% of the mass of the Earth, which means that it's there are vast cavernous areas, and it's much more hollow inside, less dense.
The Earth is also hollow. It's like Swiss cheese. And if you read the book, series, Transylvania Sunrise, it talks about the inner earth, and there's a lot of ancient repositories being found. They're called the ancient places of the lion. These are repositories of information about the history of the galaxy and the universe. This is being revealed by Michael Sala, by Radu Sinamar, the Brusiki complex, and of course, Dr. Frank Strange's had traveled to the inner earth. It's an interdimensional type thing. You know, the great thing about Venus, you know, as amazing as there is the life on there, the history of the planet, it's really about the civilization and their mission to Earth. Raymond, could you talk a little bit about the Venusian mission to Earth? And, you know, they obviously travel very fast, and they have advanced technologies. They utilize portals and various other gravitational uh, things that we don't quite understand yet. Could you talk about the Venusian mission to Earth?
Sure,
Maybe,
sure,
yeah,
Rob. Well, it's a three-pointed mission. The first is to promote the brotherhood and sisterhood of all humankind, preparing us for entry into the galactic confederation of light. George Van Tassel at the famous Giant Rock conventions in the beginning in 1954 through 1978 frequently would talk about the 601 planets in the Confederation in 51 solar systems, and so eventually, through the Venusians working behind the scenes and helping us at various levels, we will become the 602nd planet. And then the second is to help promote true and accurate knowledge about outer space, preparatory for us going there en masse and being part of a new heavens and a new earth. You know, as Peter talked about in the Bible, this is for real. It's not that everything will be created over again, but we'll have to be ready to be part of a galactic civilization. So we still have a long ways to go for that. And then the second is to develop the powers that are latent within us. And the extraterrestrials have said it's not so much important that we believe in them, but we need to start believing in ourselves. And we have vast powers within ourselves. You know, you could think of things like ESP, psychometry, telekinesis, bilocation. All these things seem fantastic, but they're actually within the divine self of each and every one of us. And once upon a time, the Venusians, they were like us, but we can become like them um, uh, through the cosmic evolutionary process.
So
That's their mission.
in other words, it's going to take a while for us to be equals.
Yes, it's not going to happen tomorrow afternoon.
You, both of you guys have no idea how many times I've said it on this show in 13 years. We are the babies. We are the infants of the entire universe. Everybody else has been around longer than we have. We were more or less either an accident or an experiment, one of the two.
Oh, you're so right, Mr. Charles. That's exactly the way it is. They've often said that they look on us as children playing with matches in a dynamite shack.
Yep.
And you know, it's up to us to save our planet and to advance. It's not up to them. They can't do it for us.
we do have a situation with the intruders or interlopers mentioned in the fall of various things, and most of this is being handled behind the scenes. Many people are learning now about um, all of the cover-ups and all the plans of the deep state and the confusion and the lies and the wars created for profit and the corporations that run the world. Many of these beings are not entirely human. They're hybrids of a fallen race. There's history of this, it's quite dense, but I want to emphasize the good news is that behind the scenes, there are thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of federations of various groups, and there's a super federation as well. And the super federation was aware of the Earth situation. It was seen in the future that things were going to be happening here, and they are very much involved in the behind the scenes removal. Why behind the scenes? Because they cannot interfere with us. If they landed prematurely, there would be fear. There's people still shooting them. They would have, it would interfere with our culture. So we are going to have to step into our own intelligence and refashion this world and how we relate to each other in our societal infrastructure. We will move towards a financial system built on prosperity and abundance, not on scarcity and lack. Money represents energy. Our energy has been controlled and manipulated by interlopers, by greedy financiers, by people who scheme to do evil. A lot of people just want power. So we're going to have to change this system on our own. Whatever you hear about digital currency and this war and all of these plans that they had to subjugate us are no longer viable. In 2012, many things changed, and we are now coming into the sunlight of this new age.
I tell you something. Rob, you're on something here, because I was told a long time ago that the idea of many, many, many other, let's say, creatures of other planets is no money. There's no money. There is nothing. You're even. Everybody is level. Everybody works for everybody else. And that's it. Period. End of story. Same way it would be like we do things here, only just get rid of the money.
Well, Raymond can speak to their system of governance in their terms, because they have developed spiritually.
Right.
They do not have the material desires. We're very focused. We've been taught to be focused on material desires and these type of things, and we've created these systems that put competition between us. But in these other worlds, they can have a digital currency because everyone's taken care of. I asked Commander Rains, I said, what's going on with the money thing? She said, well, she says, you have these people in charge who have you struggling for the crumbs of a pie. And she described it like you have 10 pieces of pie, and 9 9/10 are controlled by the elite. And then those with only like 100 or 300 million get all the cream of the last 10%, and the rest of humanity gets crumbs. So there is a basic value of recognizing God in each other and caring for others. We have people, multimillionaires with 50 cars, walking into baseball game or to football and basketball games for these $500,000 box seats, and they're walking by homeless people. We have to realize that we have to cooperate, we have to have empathy, and above all, we have to follow the dictates of the great teacher, Jesus Christ. Do unto others as you would have do unto yourself. Raymond, anything else on Venusian finance?
Oh yes, Rob. As far as the finances go, you're so right about the fighting over the crumbs, and the Venusian answer to that was simply bake more pies till everybody's satisfied. So you got to gear up production, and make sure everybody's needs are met. And this is this is very consistent with a sound economy, as Mr. Charles said. People are working for each other for the betterment of all.
All. It's like a giant community. You know,
Yes.
everybody. I mean, it's how would you call it? Well, it would be like a community, but remember a long time ago in that they had communities they used to in the '60s. They used to go out. They used to, in the woods and that someplace in that. And they'd have their own food. They'd grow their own food. They'd kill their own animals. They would do everything. Nobody got any money. Nobody ever did anything else. They didn't even have any gas. They had bicycles. But I mean, they did all this kind of stuff, and every single one of those people were happier than hell.
Oh, yes, and I have to say something about, here we have Department of Defense and Department of Energy and all that. On Venus, they have a Department of Happiness.
Oh no.
So
No.
everybody registers with that what their dreams are, and then throughout their lifetime, then it's all geared to helping people realize their dreams.
If I went there, I'd be banned.
So
It's just too revolutionary. In my second book, The Final Countdown: Rockets to Venus,
Oh,
I
yeah.
look at the FBI and intelligence agencies monitoring the contactees, and at like one of George Adamski's, he was a Venusian contact. At many of his at his rallies and speaking engagements, there would be more federal agents, FBI agents in the audience than regular people just going there because they're interested in UFOs.
We
one
have,
of
Rob, before you say anything, the thing that more or less gets me with the way they have all these new meetings now about UFOs, which you mentioned. It's even getting worse. I mean, now they're trying to find out where these things are coming from, like trace them and all kinds of crazy stuff. And forget about it; they're never going to do that in a billion years anyway. But the idea of this is, if we're so uh, interested in them, how long have they been here watching us? Because we're interesting to them more than we are to them. It's like the other way, where we're all of a sudden we're like, oh wow, UFO. And those guys, on the other hand, have been here for like forever, for like 1,000
Yes,
years they've been
they
here.
they've been here since before.
Millions of years.
Yes,
Yeah.
before recorded history. And in my Venus Rising book, I look at many cases going back to ancient civilizations of evidence of Venusian contacts, going all the way to the present time.
Yeah, it's like
We can go,
I had the guy on my show that wrote a book called Pi. All right. In the book, it has a whole description of engineering of a pyramid. Now, how do you build something like that from the ground up and be a quarter of an inch off? Dude,
well,
proves
obvious.
they've been.
This is revealed and Forgotten Genesis book. It's basically, we know that the Anunnaki and humans created, with very meticulous planning, automated cutting of stones and bringing them, and they had the Atlans or the Atlanteans along with some humans guiding these stones, and they placed them. It was done as a positive device that would help balance the earth, and there's technology in there, and a lot of spiritual and ancient mysteries. This is related to what's called the Order of Melchizedek. These are temple priest societies that exist throughout the omniverse, never involved in the politics of a planet, but always seeking to bring up the spiritual relationship. So we had these mystery schools in Egypt. Touching on Venus, I want to talk about a financial thing that they have on Venus, which we would kind of long for. We're not ready psychologically. We're too greedy. We're too programmed. But the way they work there, we have these ideas that communism is bad and this is that. They actually combine many aspects of various things. In fact, they have a level of socialism because of their prosperity and abundance, and building or creating, baking more pies for so long. Everyone lives a 7-star life. They have food, shelter, clothing, education, communication, transportation. All of the basic needs are met. They do monitor their population quite carefully and closely, but they do take care of each other. They have a communal sense in that they have a national trust, a world trust. Everyone has access to it. It's not a control network. It's not held in place by the people at the top owning everything and controlling it. It's a different mindset. And one of the things I'm coming to that Raymond has helped me with a lot is the transformation of the individual's awareness and to not focus on the negativity, to focus, as Valiant Thor says in the Science of Ascension that he talks about, he says to focus on, know that you're immortal and view everything as perfect. And as you move from the valley where you have this veil and this mist of illusion of separation and lack, you go to the mountaintop of your high self, as you said, Bob, and you can see clearly um, the reality. And the more people that can intend, can work together, and live in the moment of the spiritual presence of God, the sooner we're going to reach that. At this point, we are hurting each other. There are people doing very evil things, and we have to arrest this process. The individual is responsible, and we need to be free to individually create something different. And it's coming, whether you like it or not. There's going to be big changes on the earth in the very near future. Within the next 10 years, a lot is going to take place.
I
You
might be
know,
at the long air at you too, Doctor.
you know, Venus is a paradise world, and when Dante Alighieri wrote about in his Il Paradiso, in the third and ninth canto, about his trip to Venus, where he met angelic beings or angelic like beings. This same thing has been reflected through the ages. Emanuel Swedenborg went to Venus, wrote similarly about angelic beings, and Billy Graham wrote in his book called Angels, God's Secret Agents, 1975, on page 21. He said that don't be surprised if you find out that angels are arriving on the earth in flying saucers. And of course, this was the message of the late Dr. Frankie Stranges, who introduced Valiant Thor to the world. And the Venusian spiritual message is in, this is my book, Looking at the Gnostic Gospels of Thomas and Mary Magdalene. It's published in Germany, but it's available through Amazon just right now. And I go very deeply
And it's
into
available
that
on my
subject.
website under books.
Oh, yes. Yeah, Rob has it on his site.
Right, Rob?
So, yep, you see the Raymond's book. See, Raymond is very humble. He doesn't talk a lot about his experience, but when he went there, he went to look at his previous lifetimes. That was his first thought. So when he went to look at his first lifetime in this current cycle, he was the scribe for the first Caesar of Rome. His name was Publius Virgil Moro. He's known in our history books as the poet Virgil. In that lifetime, he writes about meeting a woman on the outskirts of Rome. They eventually became lovers. Her name was Lady Ankara. When Dante met a similar woman of Venusian, her name was Beatrice, and she took him to Venus. And Raymond, as Publius Virgil Moro, showed Dante around. So Raymond has this wonderful, clears up many understandings about the oversoul. The book, the fifth book, called Lady Columba, Venus Revelations. An Earth woman is taken to Venus in 1957, and she lives there until 1961, acting as part of what they call the angel force, based on her service to others, her open and loving heart, her intelligence, her non-judgment. She became part of a plan that they had been looking into the future. There are 8 parallel Earths, and Earth number 4 was heading for a nuclear cataclysm. And they went into the future, and they waited for the nuclear explosion to go off, and they started picking up the survivors immediately. They started dropping what we know as green fireballs to neutralize radiation. And the night before, they performed an evacuation. And this is the same scenario that is coming to the Earth now. Not a nuclear war, but natural cataclysms are coming. And everyone says, oh, that's a negative timeline. It's just part of the process that will actually speed our development, because we're having trouble letting go of the material things. So it's going to shake and rattle, kind of like sand on a cymatic plate. It forms these beautiful images and geometries when it's in a frequency. And when it shifts, it goes into chaos. So we're just entering a chaotic phase, but this is where we've come here for. This is why you're here, Bob. This is why Raymond's here, why I'm here. Many other people have incarnated in this time to hold the faith in God and to not shirk from our responsibility to create our own new narrative based on love and doing unto others.
Do you know that's an uphill battle?
This is Lady Columba with a Russian cosmonaut. They were on the moon base Clarion that's run by the Venusians together with other extraterrestrials. This is in the late 1950s. You could see Commander Aura Raines there, and this is her original drawing. Vorton presiding over the meeting, various extraterrestrials other than human there, including hybrid bee people, blue avians, and so forth. And this is the late 1950s, well before the current revelations that really verify all of this. So that the moon is inhabited, and there are extraterrestrials everywhere. There's not any part of space in our solar system that isn't inhabited either by indigenous life or life that comes from somewhere else.
It's
Valiant.
they just found that meteor, right? That Peter thing, and they got the dust off it. And they brought it back here to Earth, and the guy turns around and goes, "There's black dust on it." And I said, you dummy. I said, it's probably on your mattress too. But I mean, who cares? The thing
well,
is,
it was organic material. So this
exactly.
Yeah. So
how organic do you want to go? I mean, let's face it, the whole universe is organic.
Yes. And alive.
The drug
and
company.
alive. Imbued with intelligence and alive.
Yep. I mean, really, when I came back and all these guys are going, look at that black dust. I mean, I would swear to you, you can ask anybody in this place. I was on my back laughing. I mean, I just couldn't believe it.
When I first got hold of the Lady Columba revelations and started compiling them together for this book, and then I saw the great extent of non-human intelligences that are out there, it made me think about that concept that some have on this earth, that it has to be life as we know it, end quotes. But it doesn't have to be. Even here on Earth, if you go 2 miles under the ocean in the bottom of the Mariana Trench, you have volcanic vents with temperatures of 975 degrees Fahrenheit and tremendous pressures like 150 times sea level. And yet there's a plethora of all kinds of light there, luminescent creatures and fish swimming around, and so life can exist everywhere. We have a limited view of it, and one of these days we'll all be in communion with these forms of life and find our place in a bigger universe than we ever imagined.
You know what? All these people, and Potter, you're on my side when I say this. So many people in that are like, "Oh my God, it's a God. What happens if he lands in my front yard?" I mean, seriously. I mean, all these people, they're freaking out because of these people coming from another planet. I swear to you, and you guys, at least Robert knows me pretty good. I would walk right up to the guy and put out my hand and say, "How you doing?"
Right on.
It's like, what am I going to do? I mean, if he comes from another planet,
This
God
is a
bless
fear
him.
ingrained into us by those. The fear has been ingrained into us so that we don't think about that, so that we fear it. They have movies designed to keep you away from that because when disclosure happens, and John Lear talked about it in the thing. He said the guys that were working in these programs thought they were working on something else, and they had already signed these contracts to keep it secret. And when they found out what they were doing, that their technology was going to subjugate their fellow man and to keep the truth with them, many of them were upset. They terminated many with extreme prejudice, and pretty much everyone keeps their mouth shut now because they know it's not good. But he was saying the only way disclosure is going to come out is if they open the books and give everyone immunity.
You
You
think?
saw that last one in DC where the guy the, the U pardon the
You're breaking
UAP
it.
they talked about.
You're breaking up a little bit. Whatever you got there,
I'm
just
sorry. I can turn off my camera. Maybe it might
no,
be a
no, no, no,
solution
no,
at
no,
least.
no,
Okay,
no. Is the laptop?
it's okay. It's okay. This be better connection. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's coming
Yeah, you
in
can
a
hear my
little
voice
clear.
better.
Yes.
Yeah. So we don't need my ugly mug up there. So this is designed to keep you limited. They make everyone laugh. You say UFO and everyone just has a program. This guy's crazy. It's ridiculous. So the Venusians and the extraterrestrials and the contact on Earth is run through the Venusians. As the local confederation, they have established protocols for contact. Pleiadians, everyone has their certain protocols. They generally do not have odd looking aliens on the Earth. They're usually involved in scientific missions and collecting samples and doing things. The regular contacts, a lot of people are having uh, individuals are having experiences off planet, talking about different beings. And of course, we have the famous abduction guys. That's pretty much over now, but we have to. We don't have to, but we should keep an open mind and understand their technology. If they wanted to take over the earth, they could have. The bad guys were in a process of doing that. If it weren't for the Venusian interference and they're working behind the scenes to help us, they work in military, finance, education, science. They're everywhere, silently, quietly influencing people. There are thousands of them with families on the earth, living on the earth as dual citizens. And this is so that when the revelation comes, they'll go, oh, I know you. Yeah, well, you look just like us. You're a super nice guy. I mean, you've been very helpful. And people are going to realize that there's nothing to fear, that they're not here to take anything. They have everything. They have replicators. They make their food, their gold. They can take a spaceship, as you'll read in Lady Columba's book. She came down with this woman from India. They both had already translated to Venus. She died at 95 and they gave her a new body. She inhabited it with her memories. And she's a beautiful blonde woman. She wrote this book and gave it to Raymond because in 61, they wouldn't publish it. She wanted it as not fiction. And they said, oh, it's got to be fiction. And she said no. So she handed it to Raymond. And Raymond has this beautiful book right there. So this is the part of disclosure that's coming through the contactees and through the individuals that are fearless to tell the truth. The government's got their plans and programs, and most of them don't even know what the plans are anymore. So many of these elite black son families, these black nobilities, they're being taken out. The minions of the earth who create the wars, they meet in planes and underneath polar caps and decide who's going to start a war, who's going to get money, who's going to rebuild. It's called theater of war because you're being used. We have to stop doing bad things and focus on, I'm going to call it the Christ light, or the message of cooperation and love. This is the Venusian. Mission. I believe is to shake us out, and they want it to happen really quick because we're entering into the tribulation period.
Yeah, and while you're talking about while you're talking about having a new body, do you know? I just read it maybe a month ago. There's new technology. They're mapping your mind, your brain, taking the information out of your brain, and that would be able to put it into another brain. So
Yeah.
yeah, you would wake up in another body.
With the matrix of your own DNA, they can create a new body, and you can colonize the new brain.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean it's not a dream anymore. I mean
It'll
it's
be better
out.
than the original one.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, let's face it. I'm serious. I don't want to. I don't want to. My plastic to go bad on me or something.
It won't be body by Fisher. It'll be
Yeah.
body by Venus.
Yeah, exactly.
Are there any good questions in the chat?
Nope. Nope. I brought up a whole bunch of them already. One thing that first of all, Doctor, this is my personal question. What got you started in being so interested in Venus?
Well, it all goes back to my youth. I saw a UFO hovering over a railroad trestle in Walton Hills, Ohio, on the way back from a scout meeting. And then when I joined the Cleveland Ufology Project and began to investigate UFOs, joining with Earl Neff and publishing a Flying Saucer magazine in the mid 1960s. Here's me in the National Enquirer.
Wow.
And that's the kind of UFO that I saw. So the first books I read were by George Adamski. His 3 books, Flying Saucers Have Landed, um, and Flying Saucers Farewell, and Inside the Spaceships, and then Howard Menger's From Outer Space uh, to You. And that it was my greatest desire from even then to learn as much about our visitors from Venus and other planets, uh, and to pursue this avenue of approach.
Well, you know what? Hey, Rob.
Raymond knows so many of the ancient researchers. It's amazing. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that you should tell everybody now where they can get in touch with you guys, whatever else. I'm still here. You hear me? Hello.
I can.
All right, now you can hear me. What I was going to say was that you should tell everybody now where you can find, you, how you can get in touch with you. Same thing with you, Dr. Raymond. I mean, it's like we have to do this again. I mean, this conversation could go for hours. The thing is, and you brought up the thing about John Lear. John Lear was on my show one time, and I'm telling you, man, he came in he said, no, I can only do about 40 minutes, 45 minutes, or something like that. We stayed on the show for 2.5 hours. I mean, John, you just wind him up and he goes,
He was fearless in telling the truth.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah. So yeah, Gabriel Green was around those revelations in the 80s with Bill Cooper, and Gabriel Green filmed that, and many of the beginnings of this disclosure that must be given to the public. The governments refused. The person that landed at Muroc Base that said, we can help you get rid of the grays, and if you help us, the government said, well, can you give us technology? And they said, we're not going to give, a driver's license to a 2-year-old. You're not developed enough. And the governments were already in bed at the highest level of finance and control networks with within the world elite superstructure at that time, they were already deeply in bed with various extraterrestrial groups that did not have mankind's best interest. So the Venusians have to step back and take it to the people. And these are the contactees of the 50s. It was all Venus all the time back then. Now with Billy Meyer and everything, everyone knows this other stuff. So my website is apromiserevealed.net. We have something called Cosmic Raymond's Mailbag. If you send any questions to us, Raymond actually answers questions that come to me. And also, I have a big conference coming up, Bob, and I invited you in the past. I'm inviting you again this year. It's in Mount Shasta, California. It's pretty famous. I'm in my 10th year. We usually have 300 to 350 people, some speakers, and this year we're in a beautiful, surrounded by national forests. It's a special camp, and it's going to be very special. We have some incredible contactees, including the famous contactee from South America, Luis Mostojo Fernando Martens, who is been to Venus, he's been to Jupiter, he's been inside the Earth to the inner Earth network, and he is not talking about anything political. He's talking about the spiritual changes, and he is very famous. He's like James Gilliland on steroids.
Oh boy.
With smaller groups. You go out, spaceships land, they've landed and they've opened up their portals. People have seen them. A friend of mine, we were up in Sahama in Bolivia, very cold, late at night. He was meditating and a ship landed. It opened up the door and a being waved to him. Louis has ships come over. Michael Sala was there when ships came low and slow over the group and flashed their lights like daylight going back and forth. So these are called programmed contacts. Raymond and I have a situation where I have programmed questions and answers. And if you go to my website, I am allowed to write questions to the Venusians. Raymond hand delivers them to the security chief, who's been talked about by Daniel Fry in the early days. And he gives me the answers from Valiant Thor, the Queen of Venus, Lady Orda, and from himself primarily. And they're answering questions. And I actually have a video recorded message that they arranged for me to have a meeting. And I met Alon. This was my first formal programmed meeting with Venusians where they admitted who they were and they allowed me to ask questions. Now, the questions were answered and I did record it. However, I was supposed to keep it to my inner circle, but I wanted to share it with people, and I was sharing it when I was talking, and I cannot share that video anymore because the commander of the moon base has a life on Earth, and someone found out her name, and he was commenting every time I showed her image on different things. I had to purge him and block him, so I don't show her image anymore, but I am allowed to share the two Venusian women or translated Earth women, one born in 1885 and the girl, Lady Columba, born in 1902 and got a new body and on the backside of the moon in 1995 when she translated. So this is a form of ascension. Alon, the security chief, is 2,400 years old. These information and answers are impeccable, and they don't lie. So you can read them on my website. I have a book with the recordings. If you're considered a member of my inner circle, it's only $59 for life, and you have access to all the recordings, all the transcripts, and all the messages from the Venusians. Certain things are redacted that are sometimes personal or things that they do not want to exasperate the public's views. They don't comment on other people or other things. So this is a program contact that Raymond Keller is the Postmaster General, delivering a message to the people of Earth that I'm allowed to be part of. And you know, folks, they look just like us. They're absolutely beautiful. And beware, lest ye entertain angels unawares. They're walking and talking amongst us. No, they actually tested me once, and I kind of failed the test. I didn't. There was a guy that needed help, and I know that he was testing my, and I helped him a little bit, but I could have helped him more. And I realized later that I should have been more caring and more brotherly. This brother needed more help than I actually gave him.
Huh.
So,
All right, Raymond, how do we get in touch with you?
Okay. Well, I could be reached through Rob's site, The Promise Revealed, and also my books are available through headlinebooks.com and Amazon as well. And I have to say that my very first book, I had a dear friend. He passed away. He was the first scientific consultant to Coral and Jim Lorenzen's Aerial Phenomena Research Organization, Dr. Leo Sprinkle, and he wrote an extensive introduction to my very first book, and which are all fully illustrated and in color. This one is in color, and he said. Just to sum up what he said about these books and about me, he said the book is well written and scholarly with detailed attention to various sources of information. This writer commends the author, Dr. Raymond Keller, PhD, for a big, beautiful book. Welcome, dear readers. May you enjoy the journey. I can't say it better than that. May you enjoy the journey, and I hope to hear from you soon. And of course, I'll be at Mount Shasta this summer with Rob's annual conference, and I hope to see you there.
I forgot to mention one last thing, Bob. On
Go.
November 10th through 12th, Raymond and I will be at the Luxor Hotel for the Stairway to the Stars. It's called Disclosure Fest. It's a big hullabaloo. There are already 1,800 tickets sold. They've got 7 rooms running 9 hours a day of various speakers. And Raymond and I will be on an experiencer panel. I guess I'll be on that one, but Raymond's going to be sharing the stage with me during my presentation. And those banners are on my website. You can click them and check it out. So we're looking forward to meeting as many people and sharing the good news of benevolent contact and support for humanity without fear, without conspiracies, with just the knowledge, the spiritual knowledge, and the emphasis on the beautiful new earth that we can create as we move into a more calm and balanced inner peace.
We can do it. I know we can do it. Gentlemen, you guys, both of you guys that have, after you do go, whatever you're doing over there, you gotta come back. I'm telling you, because I mean, let's face it. I mean, all of the things that we have in front of us, and all the things that are pressuring us by our own earth. I mean, our own, the people that are around us, the government, the people, the whole 9 yards. The thing that I always have in my mind is that we are people of the soul. We are the people that say, I am, and mean it. We are the people that take the word love and make it mean something. Love is now misunderstood in many, many ways. Whereas on the other hand, love is something that if it spread all over the world, we'd be like the commune. Nobody would bust anybody. Nobody would get mad at anybody. Nobody would be throwing bombs at anybody. They just, sit where they are, make their own lives, and they'd be, happy people. But hey, maybe the Venusians and maybe some of the other creatures that are up there that I call creatures, because there's some of them up there that I mean, wow. I mean, Potter knows them. It's Mark Brinkerhoffen from New York. And that he knows and he can talk to the commander of the ships. So I mean, I run into these people all the time, and I'll tell you, it's about time the human race step up one more step, and let's come into some reality. Go ahead, Rob.
I agree. Thank you so much, and I'm so sorry. It was my fault. I was on 15 minutes before preparing. I couldn't get on, and I raced and made a drive, and I came on a little late, so I apologize, folks. It's not Bob's fault. Thank you, Raymond. I'll give you a call after the show, Bob. We'll get
Thank you
together and
so
set
much.
something up.
I forgot to mention also that I can be reached through venus-spirit.com, especially if you happen to be in Europe. That's our dear friend Anya Schaefer's website. She works with Omnek Onek as well, the ambassador from Venus.
Well, there you go. Gentlemen, thank you very, very much from the bottom of my heart. You've been honored guests.
Thank you so much, Mr. Charles. Really appreciate it.
We're honored to be with you, Bob. Thank you.
You guys are the best. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, you know, everybody that's watching this and everybody that's picking this up and everybody that's downloading this and everybody that's listening to the show, for crying out loud, this is real. This is not, we're not conspirators. We're not telling you a story. We're not lying to you. We're telling you the truth. This is like sticking it in your face and saying, here, watch. I want you to remember one thing. God bless y'all. Bob Charles.